Welcome, Luka, also known as JustLolaman. And now I was wondering if you were one of those kind of trolls in games that you just write lol and you go to feed on the opponent.
Oh, no. It's no. It's more like, it's not lol, it's like Lola. And well, that came from, I don't know, it's like, I'm what, 32 now, so that was like 18 years ago probably. I heard my grandfather play and sing first time and last time in my life, and he sang something about Lola. So that became my name, and Lola was taken, obviously. Just Lola was taken, so JustLolaman, it was not taken. So that's what I am, and it kind of I started taking some heavy medicine at one point of my life, and my nickname became Lola on drugs, even though I didn't really.
That doesn't sound very good.
Yeah. But and then I got, like, there was one game, Crossout, I think is the name. Like, very aggressive. Okay, so the game is you ride in a car, blah blah blah. You equip it with things, and you destroy each other, right? It's a violent game, and they banned me, the Russians. That they probably didn't understand, like, that drugs can be medicine. That drugs literally mean medicine. So they banned me because of the name. So I changed it to Just Lola, because I guess then I wanted to play the game. So yeah, it stuck with that.
It's a bit smarter or more neutral.
Probably. It probably wouldn't be good. I don't know how many sponsorship offers I would get.
Maybe marijuana sponsorships.
What?
Maybe marijuana sponsorships or something like that.
But I don't smoke. I have not smoked for 7 years.
I don't smoke. There's a guy with a cigarette on his hand.
Oh yeah, cigarettes. I smoke cigarettes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it was just a joke. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time, especially after I was following you on stream. You're a Magic streamer. I also took coaching from you, and I always admire a lot your mindset, especially how you communicate your information while you are drafting, while you are making your choices. I think you have a very logical mind, and it's very clear and easy to follow your reasoning and to understand your intuition. Even if that intuition is really sometimes emotional. For example, in the moments where you are making a pick and you see a good rare or a fun rare, and you say, man, I really should not take this. It's going to mess up my deck, but I want to play this. Let's go.
Yeah, come on. It's like, I want people to know that they should not take this, they should not do this, but it's rarely going to happen that you can play some of the interesting things. So maybe I hurt my win rate a little bit with that, but what can you do?
It's okay. It's a game at the end of the day. Even if you are streaming, even if you are making a living out of it, I think we have to have fun. But anyway, I really love your personality. You're also very chill. So I really wanted to explore the Magic a bit more with you. Although your background is not only Magic, you've been playing card games for a long time, like Eternal, Hearthstone. What draws you to this kind of card games?
I have always loved any competition, really any competition where competition makes sense, right? So, for example, I hate competition in a workplace. I think that's horrible, because everybody, like, if people are competitive wherever, I'm probably not going to work there very long, because, like, then we are not going to help each other. We're just going to try to be better than each other. That's crap. So I hate that, and that's one thing why I love streaming, right? Because you can compete while working. It's rarely that you can do that. Okay, back to the question. Any logical competition, I love. Also, I love video games. I mean, I'm playing video games and I'm not streaming. So that's kind of a perfect combination with me. I've been, I don't know, ever since I was a child, like 9 years old, I have been competing in math competitions and any kind of logical competitions in school. And then later on, obviously, card games. I have been one of the better Dota players in the world at one point.
Low-key brag.
Low-key brag, but that never took off. Actually, I made a team with some of the millionaires now. that won the international and so on.
You were with them?
What?
You were with them in their team?
Yeah, I made a team with them.
Oh,
and
amazing. Amazing.
It was
Very
actually
impressive.
2 times. But we were scrying and everything was great. And I had a horrible situation at home. It was like horrible marriage. Since I was 13 years old, I was begging my parents to get a divorce or to go to a psychiatrist or something like that because it's not working. And they were just horrible. Rarely they even said hello to each other without screaming. And it's like, hey, I don't know, my father comes home, hey to my mother. And she's like, I don't want to say it, she starts cursing and everything. Same with him. Like he comes in our room and instead of saying hello, a lot of times he growls. I mean, who the hell does that? Because he hates his life in there. They're both great people.
Right.
Since they are not generation of, internet and everything like that, especially in Croatia, we didn't have a computer for a good part of my childhood. So they kind of took my brother and my brother's internet away a lot of times, just randomly. I don't know. And every time when I made a team, they took it away, and then I had to say to them, "Well, I'm not coming. I mean, I don't have an internet, so you continue without me."
But
and that happened 2 times.
Do you think that you would start to play so much because of the hard context that you had at home? So you focused on computer games? Probably.
Oh, no, my father actually, they were great when we were super young, when we were living with my grandparents. Like it was 6 of us. It was a very small apartment, but it was great. That was the best part of my childhood. I love my grandparents. So they're more important to me, than my parents. Hope they don't see this. I guess my grandfather was Corona.
Well, they are not internet people, so I think you're safe.
Yeah, that's actually. So anyways, my father got me into gaming when I was 7 years old. He bought a PlayStation 1. We had that long time before we had a computer, so I don't think that was it. But later on, sure, it also became something where I can escape. Like I completely escaped there.
I think we all do that in some way. Of course, maybe not in some extreme context, probably as you had. But I also felt that sometimes when things were rough, at least our generation, we are roughly the same age. I'm 30 or 42. And it was a pretty easy way to get away from home. And it was fun because our parents don't understand what you were doing. And when we are parents, we probably understand better what our kids are doing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We are going to be the first generation that can raise children with internet in mind, right? Our parents couldn't do that. There's just no way.
Yeah, it was too new. Anyway, so Lola, sorry. So League of Legends was the first game that you played competitively?
Oh, that was Dota.
Oh, Dota, sorry, Dota.
My brother actually played League of Legends. He was #1 player for a year or something.
Wow.
But also, when he got a team, he played a bit more. And my father and mother just took the internet away for a few months. And that we both stopped playing for a while because we were like, you're enraged. You know what's happening to your friends, right? What they are doing, how they're succeeding. And you're young, right? We were I don't know, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. That was like 12 years ago.
I was saying being the top in the world or one of the best players in the world, playing games, which is what a 17-year-old thinks, like I'm doing nothing, I'm just enjoying and I'm the best. It must feel amazing. And then have that taken away from you, like fucking hell, man.
Exactly. Your ego is huge then. Like when you manage that at that age, it's huge. It's horrible. Your ego is, it's disgusting. And then when they take it, I mean, you want to destroy everything. I don't know. So
that's how your Dota career came to an end, so to speak.
Yeah, I just that happened a few times. I just stopped playing for a few years and never got back to it. I still like to play sometimes, but no, it's just it hurts you too much, right? You see how your friends are succeeding the same age as yours, even younger, and you can't join them, right? And it's like you don't want to just play for when you know that you should have been there. Kind of don't want to play for fun then.
I imagine it's like the feeling that football players have when they see their team going on the Nationals or the World Cup and they have an injury and they have to sit on the bench and they see everyone from television. They must be like, oh, fucking hell, I could be there.
Yeah, yeah. And imagine if maybe their father broke their leg, so they can't go. Yeah, that would be the same feeling.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so then after this, you started all these card games? So
I've always loved card games. Actually, it was started with Pokemon when we were like, I don't know, 10 years old or something, going into like competition. There were a lot of competitions in Zagreb. Actually, not a lot, but very big ones, and that was like a whole new world for everybody. It was crazy how fun it was. You earn badges, right?
Yeah. We had the Tazus. It was not cards, but that's what we had. Like the discs that you put on the floor, and then you have to hit them, and they will flip. And
the circle.
Circles. We used to call them Tazus. So we call
them pogs or something like that.
I don't know. We put them face down, and then we had to hit them, and then if they flip, they become yours, and you take it.
Yeah, that's great. We did the same thing with cards. Right? Did you do that? Like you make
with
something
cards?
Like
I don't think so.
And that was when Pokemon came. That was like the first card game that. Okay. Magic was here, but I was 10 years old. I didn't even know that Magic existed really. But everybody was in Pokemon, right? And then it's like that was amazing. That was like. Whole neighborhood was always on these benches, and they were like we called it kokanje. They were like doing that boom boom to try to flip the cards and win a lot of cards, right? And that was so much fun.
That was a great thing. We would take the things away from each kid. Like now, if you had the cards, you will never give the cards away. Or like imagine you're playing Magic, and if the guy wins, he takes your cards. You're like, no way.
No way.
But then when we were kids, you're like, yeah, it's yours, take it.
And it was barbaric. You know, one time I came back from so that was happening. That was great. And I came back from sea. Everybody goes to sea. Everybody's grandfather built like a sea house in Croatia. And when I came back, somebody yelled something like, the name we say is Grabaria. Somebody yelled that, and the guy that I was competing with was like, okay, take the cards. Like, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing, man? He's like, come on, it's happening. What the fuck is happening? Grabaria, what is that? And you know what it is? That became a normal thing to do. So you're holding a lot of cards and somebody just slams them and they go flying everywhere, and everybody and people start shouting, and everybody like 50 children come and they're stealing them. It doesn't matter anymore if you hold them in your hands. They're stealing them from your hands. Yeah.
Holy
it's
fuck,
like,
that's
and
aggressive.
they steal all of your cards. And that was fucked up. So yeah, I was very careful about how I hold my cards after
very
that.
Fucked
that
up.
did never happen to me, luckily, because I was like holding my cards like they're gold or something.
It sounds like you were describing, when you put corn on the ground on a public square and all the pigeons come feed on the corn.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
I imagine the same, like all the kids coming together.
And the kid is crying like, no. Of course they're crying. It's all of their, like, they probably spent all of their money on that.
Yeah.
That was horrible. But it was normal, I guess. But it's a horrible thing.
Okay, so for how long have you been playing Magic more seriously?
Seriously? Okay, so first time I played Magic was when I was 11 years old. And no, wait. Yeah. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we just tried to understand the rules by reading, me and my brother. But we kind of like read it once and then got our own rules in. It was like, for example, instant speed. Like, so you have rules when you can play it. When you get the priority, you can play it. But since it's instant, we played it. Whoever says it first, he's the one that plays the card first. Like, play it now. And so yeah, we did that. And really, when I started playing Magic was when Arena came, like something like 3 or 4 years ago.
Holy,
that's
so very
when
recently.
I started. Yeah, that's when I really started playing. I was playing all the other card games like Hearthstone, Duelist, Eternal. What else?
Area, Shadowverse.
Faria, Shadowverse a bit. I was playing a lot of those because they were like, it was easier to play them. I liked Magic. I played sometimes casually with my friends throughout the last, 20 years. But you need to spend a whole day to go and play a few matches, right? Go to your game store. It takes a long time. When you have when you can play online, especially when you have a job or college or whatever, you just come in, play, and stop playing, and that's it. And you spend like 1 hour when you would usually spend like 6 hours to play the same amount of games. So that's why I was kind of waiting for a good platform to come up. And I really don't like MTG Online, so I was waiting for that to play.
I also feel the same. I play Magic since I was maybe 5 or 6, since my brother was playing already and he introduced me to me. Then all my cousins started playing. And there was a huge difference when Arena came in terms of comfort and availability. We used to go to some Grand Prixes to play at the local game stores, but it's not even remotely close. Just the idea of not having to shuffle, not having to get the sleeves and then protect them and manage the collection, it's so much easier. So I can see why your appeal to play Magic in the digital version is there.
Yeah. It's just it's not even close.
So then, after Magic Arena came, you dropped the others because now you stream full-time Magic.
Yeah, I started. So I was playing Eternal right before Magic, and I'm like, "Oh, Arena. Okay, let's see how this is." And it's like, "Yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for this for so long. I don't know what the hell is wrong with Wizards. Why didn't they do it before? I think it's an accident, probably, that I did it now. Because I mean, they are earning so much money from Arena, and everybody except them, I guess, knew that was going to happen." I don't know how many people were waiting for something like Arena to come.
I was playing Cockatrice for years before that, and it worked, but it was very surprising there was no official, big, comprehensive platform. Therefore,
user-friendly, right? Where you don't have to click on every single thing, because it's fun to do that in paper, right? And in paper, you can skip a lot of things. You don't have to say every single thing in paper that you are going to do. Well, if you gotta click on that online, like nobody would even play paper if they would have to say every single small thing.
Of course not.
Some things are skippable, and MTG Online, you gotta click on everything. Sure, you can pass some things and so on, but it's work. It's so much work to play. I don't want that. I still play MTG Online sometimes because some sets are not on Arena, but still, it's everybody was waiting for this. I was waiting for
sure.
Finally,
then after it came, what made you stick to Magic, and what makes you love Magic so much that you dropped the other games?
Oh, I knew I was going to get there, because it is it's one of my first card games that I played, even though I didn't play it same as other ones because there was no platform, as you said. Well, now I played it more than any other probably, but the complexity of the draft, just the regular new sets every 3 months maximum. Maybe one time it was like 5 months with Zendikar, but every like 3 months or less you get new set, you get completely new environment to play in. It's like new games come in every few months, and it's complex. And Wizards, the best thing about them is R&D, like that their design team is out of this world. They keep delivering, they keep making the game much better. It's in a lot of other card games, it's like, oh, let's make this have 10 more attack and 10 more defense and 10 more life. Next year, well, this has 50 more attack and 50 more defense.
Wow.
And that's it. That's what I do. Like a lot of card games do that. And this has people talk about the power creep, right? That's called
something that increases over time, and you notice that. And I remember I noticed that a lot. I took a break. I think it was around Torment or Onslaught. I don't know if you remember these editions back in the day. And then I came later, like in Dominaria, and the difference was huge.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And you have like the classical example. Yeah.
But the thing is, in the last, let's say 5 years, I'm talking about limited, like draft, right? Where you don't construct the deck out of everything. Where you just get cards from packs and pick them and then make the deck out of what you got. There, in the last 5 years or something, the power creep is not huge. Like creatures do not have higher stats, maybe like such a small amount that it's not noticeable. They have more text, they are more complex, there are more synergies. That's what's happening. It's not like, oh, this is just this creature for 5 ago is not playable. It would be horrible now. Probably not, because the stats are very, very similar. So
Yeah, I
the power
agree.
creep is like,
The complexity is there in terms of the abilities and interactions they have with each other. I
yeah,
also noticed
and they
that
are
a lot.
just raising the complexity
Yeah.
all the time. Like
The cool
you
thing is
always
that
gotta learn.
every set they introduce a new mechanic. So not only
Few new mechanics.
two,
Few. They introduce a few new things, at least from my perspective.
I think there's always one keyword ability that is new.
Okay, maybe keyword, sure.
Like Exalted or things like this. These kind of
Yeah,
keywords.
probably.
Exalted, channel, maybe the sagas flipping, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, but I know that there's in every set there are a lot of new things. Maybe they don't call them like, oh, this is the keyword. There are a lot of new things that you need to relearn, think about again. Like the skill ceiling is so high. If you stop improving, you're not gonna be good anymore. That's what it is, and that's beautiful.
Is it higher than other games, or also don't the other games also put out new content on a frequent basis? Like Hearthstone, I imagine that it has a few sets coming every now and then, or expansions.
In
I don't know.
What card game did you say?
For instance, in Hearthstone, don't they have some expansions coming from time to time that renew the game? I never played it, so I really don't know.
I played a ton of cards, Hearthstone, and it's, well, in Hearthstone, usually what changes is the power creep. And it's the power creep. It's not the complexity of Arena. Draft is called Arena there. It's not a complexity. It is the power creep. Now the cards are stronger than before. And that's about it. You do not have to think much. You do not have to learn anything new. You're just, okay, well, these are stronger. I'm going to pick the strongest cards. Not much synergy is happening. Also, you're not drafting against players anywhere else that I know. Maybe Hex or something, but anything that I played, you do not draft against players. They are not sitting at your table with you and picking cards, and you gotta compete against them. So it's always evolving, right? It's not an algorithm. They have their own mind. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but who knows? You gotta figure it out. In Hearthstone, or else you're drafting against computers, bots, or you're getting just random cards, and that lowers the complexity infinitely.
Really?
And yeah.
So this draft experience when you are in a table with other players, is it something that is only in Magic?
It's probably somewhere else, but nowhere where I played. Where I played.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe they put it in Eternal. There was nothing like that in Eternal. Okay. But it's also about the text on the cards, which in Magic you really do. Like, new expansion comes up, and I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm gonna be correct about a lot of things, and then I'm gonna miss some things, and I'm gonna have to adapt and relearn. And that's something that I don't really have to do that much in most other games, especially like since you said Hearthstone. You kind of got it figured out right away without even investing too much time. And I invest a lot of time when the Magic comes early. But in terms of complexity, there is one game that is more complex than Magic that I played 100%. It's the Duelist. The game is dead now.
Dead. Okay.
But it is
game. Never heard of it. I don't know.
That's crazy. It's okay. Imagine some Magic, but imagine that you have a board, and it's two-dimensional. There is in Magic there is no dimensions. So now you gotta think, and you gotta move your creatures and everything.
Oh, I see.
It is. So that's a game where you're always gonna do a mistake, like a shit ton of mistakes every single turn. And you can be the best player in the world. I had one of the best results in the world in all of those games, and I was doing mistakes constantly, and it's a great feeling because everybody's doing it, because the game is too complex. You do not have time to think. You have a good amount of time, but not enough to make the perfect turn, because the options are infinite what you can do. But the game is dead, so yeah. And the beautiful thing about Magic is you're doing, no matter how good you are, you're going to be doing mistakes. And that's amazing. It feels bad when you do it, obviously, but it's amazing. That means that you can always improve, always learn, always be better. And if that would stop, if that didn't exist in Magic, I would not be streaming it. I would not be playing it that much. Because when you stop learning and you're wasting your time in something, for me at least, it loses its appeal. Like, why am I doing it if I'm not improving?
Right, you stagnate and you don't have to make decisions. I feel that is something that you value. The skill cap being high enough that it allows you to differentiate through your skill and not just use the latest card that has the highest power creep, but just really choosing. And in Magic, you find that there is no better card. There is a card that is better in certain contexts, and it varies a lot depending on the deck and depending on the synergies. That's also something that I feel a lot that is valuable in Limited. So for those that maybe don't know, Limited is this draft environment where you pick the packs and then you make the deck based on the packs, on the cards that you choose. And in Constructed, it's a bit soft. You have the same deck all the time. You already know that. You probably net deck, you follow the meta, and in Limited, there's no this concept of net decking. So you have to adjust. Is this what you value a lot, Limited? This flexibility, since you only play Limited? You don't really touch Constructed. You have probably a proud Bronze 4 every season.
Yeah, I have. I always love Constructed when I come to a new game or when I come back to a game. I mean, the only game I came back to is Magic, but I'm like, ooh, Constructed is so much fun. Everything is nice, and then you realize there is in high level Constructed, there is almost no skill, and that's funny. There is almost no skill. Everybody knows exactly what's in the opposing deck, even when the decks are not open, even when the deck lists are not open. You know exactly what's in your deck. Your difference between your deck and the other decks of the same type are going to be like one card maybe you put in, and it's basically the same as the other. So you played the matchup a billion times. Nobody's going to do a mistake. Usually it's going to be decided by luck. And there is always a luck factor in card games. In Limited, there are so many decisions to make all the time that luck is always a factor. That's why you're not going to have 90+% win rate constantly. It is not like FPS or something like RTS or something like that, where you have full control. But in Limited, when I'm talking about really high level, there are still a ton of decisions. Like there are a lot of things, maybe not a lot, but there are number of things where the best Limited players do not agree on for a long time, and then a new set comes and they do not agree on things again, even when the set is figured out, and that's beautiful. And all of them are having the best results in the world, right? And they don't agree on things.
That is fascinating in a way, the variability in interpretation of the set. And that variability is also coming from the randomness of the packs that you open. So even if you know all the theory and you open something completely wrong to your expectations, you need to navigate through that.
You need to adapt. You constantly need to adapt, yes.
But we'll probably go there soon about the drafting and maybe some tips. I just wanted to first put the sets that we have now in perspective. So the current set is Neo Dynasty, and the previous set, that was Crimson Vow. And we actually had a coaching for Crimson Vow, and at the time I really wanted to talk to you since it was the first set that I started drafting here in Arena. So it's these two that I know the best. And I feel that they are very different from each other. Me, in my ignorance, I thought drafting was kind of much the same. You kind of know the baselines, you learn the specifics of a set. But what I am learning is that, as you were talking earlier, the diversity is huge. You cannot stagnate. You need to constantly improve. And Crimson Vow was a really different set. It was what you call a Prince format, correct?
Yes.
Would you like to explain what's a Prince format?
So there are cards of common, uncommon, and rare, mythic, rare. Let's just call them rares. Common, uncommon, you're going to see a lot of them. Rares, very rare, you're going to see one per pack that you open. And usually rares are either horrible or normal or better and much better than the commons and uncommons. And the problem begins, with Crimson Vow, a Prince format, where in a Prince format, you have a huge percentage of rares which are amazing, which are crazy powerful, not even close to commons and uncommons. And there, everybody's going to have, and when there is such a huge percentage, everybody's going to have a couple of rares. And if you draw them before your opponent, or they draw them before you, since you expect to have at least like 2 or 3, usually you're lucky if you're super happy with 1. You're like, yes, I got 1 rare in my colors. But here it's like 2, 3, and they're going to have an upper hand. So there is a bit more variance in if you're going to win or not. And there is a skill to drafting Prince formats. I mean, I have my win rate is not different in a Prince format than in other ones. Maybe I usually get a bit higher win rate when the more complex and balanced the format is, because you can adapt more. You can the skill ceiling is higher.
Yes,
but it's not a big difference in that. But it's still like you have to adapt and think about those rares all the time that you have to get. So that's kind of adaptation you gotta have.
Probably you need also removal, since these are rares that when they enter the board, they change the board completely and they turn it upside down. So you need an answer immediately, or you lose in 1 or 2 turns.
The draft loses is still extremely complex. It's Magic, but the draft loses on its complexity when you have Prince format, because you're trying to get those rares, and there are a few things that you can do that can help you do that in a right way. That's why you can still have a high win rate, but it does lose a complexity. Like usually, you don't want to think about what rare you're going to open too much. You maybe want to be open to having it or playing it in your deck somehow. But your draft should be revolved about around like 99% of the cards that you get, which are common and uncommon.
Yes.
And that's where the strength should lie. So if you're drafting really well, you're going to have much higher upper hand than most of your opponents, because they're not going to have few random rares that are just going to win them the game.
Right. So, but even in Prince formats, I believe that you need some flexibility, because rares work in a positive or a negative way, in the sense that you're making a good deck, and then on pack 3, you open a bomb, and you have a decision to make. Will I shift my deck to accommodate this bomb, or will I continue to build consistency? And sometimes I noticed a lot that some players destroy the deck in trying to force a rare into them.
Yeah.
So it's like a bait sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, you need to be open to getting the rare. You can't be like, I'm gonna get I'm gonna play every single rare and bomb that I get. You can't do that.
Then you end up with a 5-color deck.
that actually I didn't think about it too much. Like that could be, or I completely forgot about it. It was a long time ago. But that could be the reason why high win rates are still very possible, because people are gonna get a lot of amazing cards, but a lot of them are not amazing enough to completely ruin your deck just to play them a few times. So yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah,
but still, much more interesting to play this format. Where
I was gonna ask that. You seems that you like Neo more, since it is so complex. It has so much interaction between the commons and uncommons, all the synergies. It's very, very complex. In my small samples of 2 sets, I feel this is far more complex than WoW.
It's not even close. I agree. Not even close.
How do you compare it to the previous sets that you drafted?
In terms of how much I like it.
Yeah, how much fun it is, how much complex you feel it is, how difficult.
It's the best format that I have ever played.
For real? Best ever?
Best ever. Close with Kaldheim. Kaldheim was also the main reasons for both Kaldheim and this set, Neo, why I hold them so highly. First thing, balance. Balance. It's extremely balanced. You can go in so many different directions and still have incredibly good results. Like you do not need to narrow down your choices to maybe a couple of different decks you're playing. You can play basically anything, and it can work. And that doesn't mean that you just don't care. You pick anything and it's going to be good. No, that means that you got to get into, you have so many ways to get into the right deck, depending on what everybody else is doing around you, depending on what you're opening and so on. Second thing, I don't know if that's second or first, but in terms of how important it is to me, complexity. Both of those sets, Kaldheim and Neo, are extremely complex. Like you do not have many obvious picks. You gotta think about them there are always choices. Like even when there is, okay, you're extremely happy taking one card, but there might be like 2 cards in the pack that you're considering because they could lead you into another direction, which could be pretty good. And then you can switch back. Maybe in both of those sets, you can switch around what you're doing, completely trash your first few picks, and it's gonna be fine if you know what you're doing again. But and yeah, that's beautiful. And both of those combined make it for extremely high skill ceiling. And since the set begins and until the you're done with the set, you're constantly improving, and it kind of feels like you could play more. The new set is coming in 1 month, and I'm pretty sure in 1 month I will be fine with this set staying. But again, I'm always more happy about drafting a new set and learning again.
So, sometimes it gets old and people get, I would not say addicted. This is somehow the Portuguese word, but they go down the path that they know that works already and they stop being creative. Let's say that in the beginning, probably auras or sagas were not very valuable, and then people realize how good sagas are, and maybe then they just start to tunnel vision on sagas and lose other interactions.
What is sagas?
Sagas. The sagas. Like you have chapter 1, chapter 2, then chapter 3, it flips.
Ah, the sagas. Okay.
Sagas, right?
Okay, yeah. I heard something completely different.
Okay, sorry if I was not clear. But yeah, in the beginning, I believe that the sagas were underrated. And now, perhaps they are
underrated them. I underrated them as well.
Oh, yeah.
It was... A lot of the things are going to be underrated in the beginning of the set. It's going to be... you're probably going to have good results in the beginning if you're a good player, right? But if you look at what... And it's important to have a good start, right? It's not like, oh, even though you don't agree with your decisions in the first week of the set, you had probably better decisions than almost everybody else if you're having that results, right? So it's fine, but in complex format like this, after a few weeks, it is gonna change a lot to what you're doing, right?
So in this
and how you're picking.
So in this complex format where you have so many options, in which you don't really have to commit to the options either, you can have one color in mind, you take 3 or 4 cards, and then you see another color is open, and you can change and you can make it work if you pick the right pieces. In this kind of easily changing environment, what do you think that are the main priorities or the main characteristics that a good drafter should have?
In a complex format like this?
In this case, let's say specifically in
Neo. Okay, you gotta be... Okay, first, it's always fundamentals that are applicable to literally any set that you're ever going to draft, right? You got to get the fundamentals down. That's nice maybe on a core set or some simple set to get those down. Without that, like you're not going to do well anywhere, and especially not in a complex formats, right? I notice that some of my students that don't have very well developed fundamentals, just basics of Magic drafting and some basic principles. They doesn't matter how they start, but at one point they start struggling a lot in complex sets. Same for any set, but in complex sets, because you have so many things to think about. Like this set has, every card has, I don't know, a small, like 5 paragraphs of text. It's crazy how much text it is. Yeah. And then it is, if you don't have the fundamentals down, it is very easy to get lost in synergies and everything. Like, oh, this card works with that one. Oh my God, all these cards work so well. Maybe they are interesting and they do work so well, but the core of your deck can be very horrible if you're only thinking about synergies, right? That's why the fundamentals are the first thing.
What are the fundamentals that you are referring to specifically?
Well, there are too many. Like
on a basic level, like overview only, just to know what you are talking about.
Okay, what I'm talking about here, like for example for Neo, like the stat lines that you would expect for certain mana value, right? Stat lines for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you expect on a base of the card? And that's like there's too many to mention, but that's one example, right? And then you can develop like your opinion. Okay, this is great card with it has great synergy with another. But okay, do those cards pass the vanilla test? Are they fine on their own? Like you can't just build a deck around some crazy things that you're doing. If every consistent deck is gonna crush you, like that's one of the things. Right. And then when do you play tricks in your deck? When do you want to stop drafting removal, for example, when you have enough, when something else is maybe more important, and things like these that are not too exciting, but like it's much more interesting to think about all the crazy things that your deck is doing. But when you have those down, it's much easier to make a great deck and have all of those interesting things and if there are interesting synergies and patch up the holes, right? I also get into a lot of synergistic starts of the draft. Like I pick a lot of cards that are very, very good together, even though, well, still the deck is not that great because it has a lot of holes. But then it's important to know how to fix those holes. And those holes, a lot of times, are not going to be crazy things. They're going to be like number of early game that you have. So even though your deck has very high power level, very, very strong and interesting things happening with combinations of cards, like maybe every single deck that just plays creatures on curve, boring things, attacks you, wins the game against you because you never get to do what you want to do. So like how to draft an aggressive deck, how to draft a control deck, how to know what your game plan is, and more important thing, how to adjust to what your game plan actually is in the game, right? You need to differentiate those two. So those are maybe not super exciting things, but all the fun stuff is probably not going to work if you don't have those down. So those are the most important things for a complex set. Like
I agree completely, especially this part that you mentioned about knowing the gaps in your deck. One thing that I proved a lot in me was when we had the coaching from Crimson Vow, when you told me, okay, in this kind of set you need to make a consistent deck with, I believe it was 6 to 8 2-drops. So you gave me the idea of having the slots, like the 2-drops, the 3-drops, the 4-drops, of making sure the curve is filled enough to be consistent in many games. And as a beginner, I was like, okay, I didn't have these numbers in mind, even if it's not an exact number, just to have this idea that you need to meet certain criteria for your deck to be consistent enough. And this goes also in the way that you, for instance, you organize the card view when you are drafting, and that also helped me a lot. You put the spells or the tricks in one column, you put the removal in another column, and then you put the creatures in the rest. And this helps identifying the gaps in your deck. And sometimes when I'm picking, you have these choices between card A and card B, and card A probably is removal, and card B probably fills your curve. Then you have to ask yourself, do I need more curve? Do I need more removal? Is 2 removal fine? Is 3 removal fine? Is my game plan to get rid of the other opponent's creatures? Is my game plan to be aggressive? And I feel these are
and very... How much more picks? Like every time you have that question, like it's probably always, how many more picks do I have? Like maybe I don't need to fill up my... Maybe I don't need to pick a safe pick, right? That I'm going to need. Because maybe I have time to pick those cards later because this is very powerful, right?
Yeah, and then those cards don't come and you're like, fuck, I should have taken that.
Well, it's all about averages. It's all about like big numbers. You don't care if it happens one time. Like you always need to think like, how am I doing in my 50 drafts? How am I doing in this month and a half? Not like, oh, today was, oh, I destroyed everybody today. I understand this set. And then tomorrow, oh, I'm horrible in this set because I lost every game. It's like a large period of time, and that's how you should look at your results.
Also, if you get the basics down, then your consistency improves, and if your consistency improves, you may not get flashy results that are sometimes based on higher risk, higher reward, but you end up winning more, so you become better as a player and you achieve better. But I feel it's very hard to know how to identify these gaps in your deck. Do you have any recommendation to Like any baseline, like at least 2 removals, something like this, like a curve of certain number?
It really depends on. That's why coaching is so interesting, right? It must be tailored to the individual in Magic, because draft is so complex that everybody has different shortcomings. Everybody has completely different shortcomings. Like somebody has similar ones, but you really need to adapt. That's what's so interesting in it, right? Usually, like first session, you just see what's up, see how the student is breathing, what are they doing, and then okay, wait. Sometimes it's okay, wait. Your decisions are great in enough drafts, enough games. We should start from advanced stuff. Maybe a few fundamentals, but sometimes just start from the advanced stuff. And sometimes it's okay, we need to go back to the basics. And it's same in math. I remember when I was giving instructions in math, it's like you need to learn something to pass an exam, right? Okay, let's do that. Let's go. And then it's like, wait, but you do not. You're on college and you, or in high school, and you don't know like elementary something that you learn when you're 10 years old. I'm not gonna teach you this before you learn that. And when you learn those few fundamentals, then it's like, oh wait, all of a sudden sometimes some of my students in math, they figured out how to solve something just because they understand something from elementary school now. And the beautiful thing about it is, like wherever in math, in Magic, that at one point, usually you get to realizing that you can do this. And this is like, it's always my goal to get to the point where student doesn't need any more coaching, and that you can do this, that you can figure these things out, that you have the skill set required, you got the fundamentals down, and now you can improve if that's what you like doing a lot, right? In math, you got to pass the school, so you're always going to have to do that. In Magic, you just obviously love playing. I mean, if you're paying for coaching, you got to love playing Magic. Doesn't go any other way.
Yes, I think it's also about the thought process. You need, even if you don't give solutions, you need to give pointers to develop a thought process, so that the thought process can guide decisions through uncertainty and through changing contexts.
Exactly. It's like how to. I like to. This is what I've been doing in the last few months. Like I like to end the coaching with the main things to focus on while playing, like the main things to look at and the main questions to ask yourself. But sorry, you asked me about.
No, it's okay. We can move on.
Fundamental things.
Yeah, if you want to say something, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, like, when you sometimes like a student comes and they really need to work on fundamentals, and then it's like, okay, let's give them these base numbers. But I always like to stress highly that these numbers are here now for present you, not for you when you get good at drafting. That's when you kind of forget about those numbers. You still know them, somewhere around, and then you can make all the crazy decisions, but they're going to be good decisions. They're going to be correct decisions. Now, then you can get flashy, right? You don't have to have a lot of horrible drafts to have crazy and interesting decks, right? If you know what you should expect from your deck, like if you know what, as you said, where your gaps are, what you need to fill up, you can do those crazy picks. And that's the great thing when in coaching, when I can get to with a student that started with some very, very bad fundamentals, where I can get to those very advanced topics, and when they are ready to start implementing them in draft, right? If you start with advanced things when somebody doesn't have fundamentals, they're just going to be completely lost.
How do you know how to identify the gaps? Is it intuition only? Is it something that you only learn by experience, by trial and error?
I don't know. I always liked giving instructions. So I have just always liked it. And I mean, when you're good at something, you see, and when you're doing it a lot, applying it a lot, you can usually easily see like what problems, especially the biggest problems other people have. Like sometimes I'm going to completely ignore some problem if it's too complex, when there is a fundamental problem lying there, and I'm not even going to even touch on it to not confuse the student. I don't think anybody's stupid. But it's the same thing in math. Like teachers in Croatia are horrible in math. Horrible. Abysmal. They get paid nothing. And they have I mean, why would you improve? They get horrible pays, and you can. I don't know what you like. There is almost anything pays better than being a teacher in Croatia.
It's not only in Croatia.
And
Here in Portugal as well, it's very low paid, and then to have to travel a lot. So people that are there, they are really for passion only. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
And no problem. But I didn't know that it's the same thing in Portugal. That's like for me, the teachers in schools are more important than doctors, like for as a profession. And my father works in medicine, so but still, I think that's like if they are raising the children, right? And if they're shit, they're spending so much time there. The children are gonna get some shit habits. And in math, like what I wanted to talk about is, the teachers just give you the extremely complex exercises, like extremely complex. Luckily, me and my brother were probably from my mother were born with, we kind of just always understood everything about math without really learning it, and that's completely lucky. And then you see like everybody thinks they're horrible at math, horrible. I don't know, this is not for me, because they get such a complex things. Nobody teaches them basics, and when they like a lot of my friends I give instructions to, and I teach them basics, and they understand complex things, because you can't do that. And unfortunately, that's the situation. And until the pay gets higher, teachers are going to be shit in Croatia.
So,
and
but
I'm sad about it.
Yeah, I feel the same. In Portugal, I was always very bad at math. I think in part because I don't have a brain for math. I know I have a brain that understands literature better, but I went through exactly what you were saying. My math teacher during high school, mostly, she will just go to the billboard, this is the exercise, now we have 10 minutes to give the solution, you just try to write it down as soon as possible, just to not miss anything, and then you go home and maybe you think about it. Maybe not. And so
we probably just gonna cheat or something.
Yeah, but I was still bad anyway. So this was contextual.
Nobody's bad at math. Nobody in the world is bad at math. Some people are better, sure, but nobody's bad at math. There is not a single student, no matter what I thought about themselves, like they got worse. They were always going to this like they get like what's the grade? Here we have from 1 to 5, and you have 1, you cannot pass. And basically everybody was 1 that I had, and none of them were bad at math. None of them. So they had always the worst results. None of them were bad at math. They just had horrible teachers, and they just kind of thought it's too much.
You're such a sweet guy. You're not bad. It's just other people are better than you. It's a very nice way to put it.
I'm telling you, if you're bad at math, then you're bad at life, and nobody is bad at math.
What?
Nobody in the world. Maybe you don't understand anything, but that's because nobody taught it to you in the normal way. It's true. I have never met a person that was bad at math, no matter how bad their results were before. Everybody understands it when like fundamentals are not hard, but come on, at 13, 14, 15 years, are you going to sit down and like learn all the fundamentals in math when the teacher gives you that kind of exam and it looks like, oh my God, what is this? Nobody's going to do that. So I'm telling you, nobody in the world is better at math. There's no way.
Maybe if we will talk a bit more, you will change your mind. Because I feel I'm really bad. I feel my brain twists when I try to understand something.
I know everybody feels like that. Everybody feels like that.
Okay.
Everybody that I had, every one of my friends felt like that.
But intuition in limited is not a math problem. There is math, of course. There's the famous sentence, math is for blockers. But when you are choosing, okay, should I take removal? Should I take a 2-mana creature? Should I take a 6-mana creature? Isn't it intuition, like feeling?
It's logic.
Logic.
It's plain logic.
Logic assumes knowledge, what you need, right?
True.
That's what I want to get. But knowledge of what you need comes from experience?
Well, same like everything else. Yeah, experience. Maybe you're just good at it. But the draft is so complex that no matter how good you are at it, if you're not putting time in it, you're not going to be good at it.
Right,
Maybe better than somebody else, but you're not going to be really good because it's too complex to not be constantly in it, especially when every new set comes like every couple of months, and still perform at the top. Nobody is gonna. People are gonna be maybe naturally better at it, but if you don't put the time, no, nothing.
Right, and in general terms, since it is so adapting and so dependent on the context, I think that you probably cannot be more specific than these fundamentals that you mentioned, like control your curve, get enough removal, make sure you have a game plan, but you cannot really tell which game plan, or you cannot really tell how to fill the curve specifically, like 5 of these, 6 of these, since that depends on your strategy, depends on the synergies, depends on the colors, maybe on your game plan.
It is. So if I would give that kind of advice, like just in general, like the numbers of some, like the base and fundamental numbers of some things, they really, it depends on whose ears it would fall upon, because for some people that would be helpful, and for some people it would hurt them, because maybe they're past that, right? Those fundamentals, you need to evolve past them. If you stay on that, you're not going to have good results. And it is hard to, like, before you get to the highest possible win rates and so on, it is a bit hard. And even then, it can be a bit hard to say what where you're at, what you know, what you don't know, what you should take as advice and what you shouldn't, right? So a lot of people are above those fundamental numbers, but maybe they like something else. And then it's, people ask me that a lot in the chat, and I don't like answering those questions. I answer them, but I always kind of say that don't just listen to this, because I can say, okay, you need 6 plus 2 drops, and it might not be the case. Depending on where you're at, you might need 4 or up to 10, 12, 13, 14 maybe. Like that's pretty big difference. That's like huge difference. And really, like that's why when you're kind of coaching somebody, you need to have an individualistic approach, because everybody lacks different things. And I have a lot of students now, and it's completely different what one person needs, another doesn't. Like there's a student that has better winner than the other one, but some of the things that this one is very good at, the other one isn't. So it's very, very, very different. It's just too complex of a topic to have like just base thing.
It makes sense, and if you would give some numbers, some people would probably cling to those numbers and stop seeing the context and stop gaining perspective.
Yeah.
So drafting, from my understanding, it has 3 key moments. You have to make the picks, you have to build the decks, and then you have to play it. At least it's how I see.
Drafting and building the deck is basically the same thing, because you are building the deck for the 20 minutes that you're drafting, right?
Yes, for sure. But I still think it's a bit different when you make the cuts. Let's say you have 44 good cards. 44 good cards that you would easily put in there, but then you have to think.
Which one is the best?
Yes. What is my game plan? What do I
need
the most?
Works. That's usually like when you have really good drafts, then when it's the hardest. And that's why on stream I have that, you probably know, the deck doctor. People submit the decks and I help them with it. It's a fast process for me, but usually people are always like, oh my god, what is this deck? And I'm like, what the fuck is this deck? It's usually they're the best decks ever. Like 80% of them are the best decks you ever saw. It's because the colors were so open. People were not taking their cards. They got so many good cards that they could probably switch out like 10 and the deck would be almost the same in terms of power level. But those are...
So in this deck doctor thing that you have, when you look at people's decks and fix it for them, what do you see that are the common mistakes, and what is usually the things you do to improve them?
Oh, it's very different. Again, like I always tell people, sometimes people submit, so you need 40 cards to play and you want to play only 40. I mean, almost everybody knows that, because there's a highest chance for you to draw the best cards in your deck, right? If you play 40, the deck is probably not all exactly the same power level of cards. So that's why you want to play 40, to get those great cards. But I always tell them, cut the deck to 40. Make those hard cuts. Don't just randomly do them. Make those hard cuts. Make those hard decisions. Because then, when you submit the deck, then I'm gonna change the deck up, and you can see what decisions I think are wrong. Maybe somebody else is gonna disagree, but you can see that, and you can think about it, and that can help you out. When you submit like 50 cards, and then I just cut the last 10. You just play the deck, and that's nice. And you probably are not going to go back and think about like, okay, maybe I would put this in or whatever, and maybe your decision is going to be influenced. So, but it's different. It's completely different. Like sometimes I see like few narrow decisions, and sometimes it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you not playing this? This is horrible.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But again, this is hard to talk in specific because it depends so much on the context and on the player, also on the decision. I didn't want to drag you so specifically. I just thought that in case there was something generic. So
the more simple the game is, the more you can answer in like absolutes. Like there's not many things that are absolute in Magic.
Right. Back to those 3 or 2 moments. So the drafting, the deck building that you said that they were the same, and then the playing itself. Do you feel that some of these aspects is more important than the other, or should person try to improve equally on all fronts?
Definitely equally. So drafting, deck building, yes, but drafting and gameplay. That's where those are the most important ones by far, because when your gameplay and drafting gets better, naturally your deck building is going to get better. Like when you know why you're picking some cards, what cards are better than the others, in what environments, what direction you should take, how to read the signals, how to read what everybody else is doing, and so on. It is going to just naturally make you a good deck builder. And gameplay, you can draft the deck perfectly, get everything figure out the set. You can be one of the best drafters, and if your gameplay is crap, you're going to lose with good decks. You're going to lose a lot with good decks, especially in a complex format like this one. Same for gameplay. If your gameplay is really good, well, and drafting isn't, you're going to lose a ton of games before even playing them. And funny thing is, like, students come to me and they tell me, I always ask them, what are their weaknesses? What do they think? And I always tell them, I'm gonna see that what you say, but we're gonna see. Because a lot of times they're like, oh, I suck at playing. I'm really good at drafting, especially this set. And then I see the gameplay, and it's fine. I don't see almost any mistakes. And I see the drafting, and it's horrible. And vice versa. And it's vice versa. It happens so many times. It is very hard to be to criticize yourself. It is so hard.
It's hard to see the good play, or it's hard to see the play that you did not make. I get this a lot when I'm watching your streams, and sometimes I pause and I go like, what would I do in this situation? And then I see what you did. And not rarely it's very different, and you did something I would not even imagine that it would be possible. And I'm like, okay, I missed this. I should have done this. And then I think, okay, when I'm playing alone, when I don't have this solution, that is your stream in a way, how would I make this choice? Would I make this error? And then you improve from there, from opening up your perspective.
There's so many ways to improve. There's like so many ways to improve, and so many resources everywhere about Magic. It's like a 30 years old game, something like that.
The name is 30 years old, but the game is not the same. If you know what I mean. So the title is the same, but the game is very different from what it was 40 years ago.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
So
I mean, yeah, I guess. But the game is different, like from a few months ago when it was a different set that you drafted.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. But the fundamentals are in draft are very similar. It's just, sure, maybe a little bit of rule changes, but...
yeah. What did you think about these guys that say beforehand they start drafting, they go, okay, I'm going to draft a samurai deck, and then they force it every set. Not every set, sorry. They force it every draft during the set. So they have a predefined idea before they open something, and they just take the picks to fill the deck, regardless of the table and regardless of what they open. You think this is a good approach?
Sometimes yes. It's in best of one. So best of one arena is the only format of Magic in the world that has a hidden algorithm that is gonna do some things that are not completely random to your draws. The most important thing is gonna give you free lands, and so you can play your stuff, and more often than not, it is also gonna get you your curve easier, your 1, 2, 3 creatures. Not creatures, just anything that you have 1, 2, 3. So sometimes some aggressive decks are really, really good in a format, and in the best of one arena, unfortunately, that is the ranked.
Unfortunately, because it removes the skill cap.
No, it doesn't remove the skill,
or reduce.
but
I mean,
it reduces it a little bit. It definitely reduces. In some sets, it reduces it infinitely. Like if you can go in 20 different directions in a set when there is no algorithm that is, it's not even helping your algorithm that is doing something to your draws, right? If it's same for everybody, it's not helping anybody except maybe people that know about it and not helping the ones that don't.
Right.
That's actually true. But yeah, if you always go in the same direction, like there are some sets where I just played a single deck every single time. I get the best card in the format. That's not in those colors. I don't take it because it's not in the aggressive colors that I'm forcing. And every single time I play it, and I get to top 3, and that's shit. Because you did that. When that happens, then the skill is pushed out of the window. Sure, you still need to know how to draft that deck and play it.
Yeah,
that's 1 out of 20 directions. I mean, doesn't matter if you need skill there. It's 1 out of 20. It's it lowers the skill, but by I don't know 10 or 20 times.
I understand your perspective, but at the same time, lowering the skill is probably what people are after. So if they are bad and they say, okay, if I pick this deck, I don't have to think about the picks. So it simplifies stuff.
It doesn't, because those people that are bad, they do not even know about this. They do not even know about this best aggressive deck. Maybe after 1 month. That's why you can force it. You cannot force this if other people are picking it as well. Right? If everybody's going to be taking the deck, that you can't play it ever. But people that are bad, people that are new, they don't know about these things. They don't read a lot about Magic, or they're just bad. I mean, we're talking about people that are bad at the game, right? And there is much more of those than people that are really good in the game. So when you're drafting in best of one, even though it's ranked, you're going to be drafting with any player, and a lot of them are going to be horrible, and they're not going to be taking that best aggressive archetype. They're not going to force it. That's why you can just always pick it. And even when they do pick it, they're going to be picking wrong cards. So you can do that. You can't do that in every set, but some sets that happens, and only in best of one. Anywhere else where you play Magic? No. The answer is no.
You said that you can do that after you sit on the table and after you see what the people on the table are picking. But no? So just make sure, are we talking defining the deck before you sit on the table, saying, before you play the draft, I'm going to do this? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. From my perspective, I understand in the sense that it simplifies, but in the other hand, it also seems to take some fun away from drafting. So you're kind of playing constructed in a way, and you're not adjusting, you're not getting different decks, you're not trying different synergies. Probably gets a bit boring.
When that happens, it's not like constructed, it's more like you're playing one of the worst draft sets ever made, even though it's probably it may be great. But because when that happens in best of one arena, you're playing like it's like the design team made a horrible mistake, even though they didn't. The algorithm is a horrible mistake. And you're just drafting one color pair as if everything else sucks. And it doesn't, but with the algorithm, it does. And you can almost do that in this set.
Yes.
Luckily, you don't have to. You can draft the black-red aggression every single time, and you could for a while. But luckily, you do not have to do that. You can go in so many other directions, and that's just luck, because you can't really make a set and think about everything constructed, limited, and then also think about limited with the algorithm. Like, no, there is nobody in the world that can think that much. No human.
Fair enough. I have another example for you. Something I noticed, some decisions that players sometimes need to make, and it's very interesting during the picks. Let's say that you open pack one, pick one, and there's one really good blue rare, and there's many white good cards. So in this case, you have two options. You take the blue and wheel nothing, and probably don't know what your next picks will be, or you start with white and maybe see, okay, this guy will be blue, I will have white open, and maybe I will some cards. Do you usually think much about this, like which cards will influence other players to go in this direction, so I will go in the other direction to have an open lane?
Okay, how much better is the best white card than that blue card? So you said there's like 5 white cards and 1 blue card.
Okay,
how much better?
Let's say I was gonna say a Tameshi, but a Tameshi also has white. Let's say you have the blue dragon, the blue mythic dragon, and then in white you have Mishiku, Imperial Oath, and maybe another Saga and the Lifelink Eye or something like this. So you have really 2 good white cards and then some good white, and you have no blue.
I mean, I think that dragon is better than anything that you mentioned. So I would just be extremely happy that I'm taking the single blue card.
All right.
But let's say the dragon was a bit worse.
Let's downgrade a bit. Let's say a Mind Link mech, for instance.
Well, okay. That's okay. So yeah, I think that white is better than blue. But I do give it a consideration, right? Because you are going to be taking the only card in one color, and you can take more of those cards and just completely cut it. So even people that were thinking about that color maybe are going to switch out, because it's not only about reading signals. That's something that I do consider. I think Michigo is much more powerful than the mech, so I would probably just take it. But if there's a lot of white and they're all really good cards, then maybe I would take the mech, even though I think it's a weaker card. Because it is not only about what signals you're receiving. I mean, it's not it's not only about reading the table and so on. It's also about commanding the table.
Right.
It's not, you can't just be like a slime. And I don't think bad things about slimes. Like, that's one of my favorite anime, one of the slime ones. So you need to like take how do you say that for the horse? How do you say that?
The reins. Take the reins.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need to take the reins in your hands sometimes. You can't just be, okay, I'm going to adapt and I'm going to be so good at adapting, because you're going to be like, adapt. That's called drafting the hard way. And that's very important to have in your repertoire as well. But then you're going to be constantly adapting, and then a lot of times it's going to be like, oh, but I tried everything to find the open lane, and I felt like this is open, but in the end it wasn't. And then I everything got messed up because I was adapting, even though if you're great at it, that's not the only thing that you should be doing. Because, well, you might be reading things, but maybe everybody took few colors. Like, rarely there is going to be 1 or 2 colors that are not getting taken. Like, why would, on pack 1, probably it's not like everybody's going to say, no, I'm not black, for example. Some people are going to be black. There are 8 people, there are 5 colors, and everybody has at least 2 colors in their decks. Maybe
sometimes I find myself saying this. Let's say that you take the blue card in this scenario and you pass 4 or 3 really good white cards. Yeah. Second pick, more 3 really good white cards, or at least 1 really good white card. And then third pick, you'll get another good white card. At this moment, you think, okay, should I really go white? Because the guy after me is already white, for sure. I passed him so good cards.
And there were like 4 people that got good white cards, right?
But then you have this choice. Should I start investing in this color that seems open, even though there's another guy already, or more than one guy taking it? It's a tough choice.
That really depends, but that's when you got to think about like commanding the table. That's when like, okay, I maybe put some people in white, yeah, but now I'm going to get them out of white. Because now the only things I'm getting is white. Like obviously the people on my right that are passing to me are not white. Okay, I know I gave them good white cards, but now I'm going to, unless every single pack has like 4 good white cards, what can you do?
Yeah.
But I'm going to put them out of white because now my white is pretty good. And I'm going to tell them, hey, you're not getting anything in white. And some of them are going to drop it. Some of them are going to be okay, goodbye. And by only strength of yours, if only strength that you have is adapting, which is extremely important, don't get me wrong, then people are going to open great cards in your color in pack 2. And they're going to be like, oh, wait, this is better than anything I have. Okay, now I'm in that color that was open for you. Like, you're drafting and that was open. But all of a sudden, like 2 people got a rare or something in that color and they switched. And what can you do? They just say, I'm that color and I'm doing that. People have their own minds. But yeah, you force people out of a color and adapt to what you're seeing as well, right? That's why draft is so beautiful.
Yes, and then when the second pack comes, the order shifts. So if you were getting only white from this guy and you were passing the white, suddenly the order shifts. And then the other guy on your left is going to dry you instead because he's the one picking before you.
Yeah, you can't dry. You can't. You're not going to have a chance in pack 2 in that second pack when it shifts. You're not going to get a chance to cut them out of any color. They're going to be one that are going to be commanding you.
Yes.
Now. So yeah,
and I find that very interesting. Very, very interesting.
But you gotta have both of those. Like command the table sometimes. And sometimes adapt to what everybody else is doing. Most of the times, use the boat. Use the boat to your advantage. And in the end, at one point, you got to make a decision. You got to be like, okay, I know at least one of my colors, at least 10 of my cards that I'm playing. I know that, and that's what I'm going to do, and nothing can change what I'm doing. Now, the better you are, the easier it is for you to know when you got to make that decision. Because in the end, you need to have a 23 card deck. Plus 17 lands, that's free, everybody gets that, but you need to have that deck and it needs to be functional. Most of the time it needs to be really good and you can't wait forever, and also if you're not adapting at all, then if people just choose to be in your colors, you're going to have horrible decks sometimes because you're forcing something that everybody else is taking. So
yes, that also comes from experience, knowing if you are green because you have a Kappa tech, or knowing if you are green because you have only one Fade into Antiquity, one Artifact Removal, and maybe one Kami, and then you don't really have many good cards. So knowing which card draws you into some color is hard and takes experience and takes knowledge and learning.
It takes knowledge, no matter how you got it. Like some people just read a ton of content, watch a ton of content, and really a ton, and then they draft a bit, and then they start drafting more, and that's how they do that. Some people just love to draft; they start right away, and they don't do anything. They don't even watch see any card that's getting there, and they maybe suck for the first week, but maybe they're good at draft, and then they get their things going a bit later. So it's different for everybody, really.
That's
what I always say is steal other people's experience. Steal it all the time, no matter how bad you are, no matter how good you are. Why the hell would you do this thing alone in such a complex game? Why? Steal whatever. Don't steal what everybody else is doing, but steal their experience. Maybe they're doing horrible things.
Yes.
And then don't do that.
That's why I like to watch you. You explain your mindset, you explain your thought process, like, okay, I have black, white, and red, I have these colors I have these cards that are bringing me to this color, and you keep considering it until you reach a threshold that you say, okay, I have enough of this color to make me commit. But you communicate this very clearly, and you make this process. Yeah, I think so. You make this process very transparent. You put the things in columns. Okay, if I want to go into this direction, I have these cards. And then comes a new pack, and you have to make a choice between one color and the other. And you speak to your audience. You say, I'm thinking about this because I have these cards, but I'm also thinking about plan B, and I'm going to that direction. And then you commit, and then you go from there. And
That's
that,
great.
at least for a listener, is very helpful. When you don't know anything about the set, you start to build this intuition from watching other person.
That's great to hear, because a lot of times I think to myself that I'm not communicating what I'm doing enough. A lot of times I think that, most of the time. So I think that's what I should work on. But great to hear that it's okay for you so far.
Well, perhaps it's subjective, but for me, it's enough.
For sure.
I feel that I learn a lot, and I feel that you explain every decision that you make. Also comes from watching you. I know more or less which things you prefer, so I know what you're going to pick most of the time. So maybe there's also that. So if someone just
nice.
came like suddenly and watched you, I don't know. Maybe it's not so clear, but for me it is clear at least. I think
That's
you're doing
good
a
if you
great
can
job.
predict it. That's pretty good if you can predict it.
Sometimes, of course, not all the times, because my results are not the same as yours. So of course I'm doing things different.
There is a gameplay as well, right?
Yeah.
The gameplay aspect.
Okay. One thing before we run out of time is to, more on a personal note, to address the change that you had recently in your career, in which you had a normal tech job working during the day, and then you would come home and do the streaming and the coaching as a sort of hobby or as an extra. But now recently you've dropped this day job and you focused exclusively on Magic as a streamer and as a coach.
I have actually not been doing it as a hobby, really. I have been working two jobs, kind of two full-time jobs. It's like a database administrator during the day and a Magic streamer and a coach during the afternoon and night. So I didn't have a life, really. So I knew I needed to change something at one point, but I wanted to wait to see how the stream goes, to have at least like 1.5 of a good year. Like 1.5 of a good year. What the fuck is that?
I don't know. I was going to ask you about that.
To have like 1 year up to 1.5 of good results in stream and coaching. And and I decided that I really, really, really am proud and happy what the community has. That community has been there for me for like last year and a half. Have been great, just getting better and better. And now I had to make a change. It was one or the other. My girlfriend Eva, thank to God, she stayed with me. I don't know if I would stay with anybody if they had two jobs and. We had almost
it
no
must
time
be
to spend
rough,
together.
like having no time to go out, no time to walk, no time to just chat and talk about your problems maybe, or talk about your joys.
Yeah,
Must be tough.
almost no time at all. And then if I socialize a little bit during any week, then we have literally no time. Like it's almost nothing. And it's.
Were you doing it for income or for meaning, or for doing something that you love and helping the community and feeling the love from the community?
What job?
In this case, accumulating streaming and coaching on top of your normal job.
All right, so I accidentally started streaming. I just wanted to make a stream for like few people, like 5, because I was in the official Discord channel for MTG. I was helping a lot of people for free, just to draft better, because the advice that was given there by most people with huge confidence was horrible. They were horrible players. They were abysmal, and their egos were amazing. They were like the best. I cannot count the number of times that myself and other people that are actually good at the game, when they give advice, they would get shat upon. They would get shouted and cursed and so on. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh. And then I started giving these free private lessons, right? And I'm like, okay, there's too many of you. I like to play a lot. I also have a job. I have no time for all of you. I'm gonna make a stream, and then like few of you can come, and it's gonna be like nobody knew about it except them, right? Because that was not public. It was just completely private.
Yeah.
And I didn't announce anywhere that I'm helping anybody, right? And I was thinking about like maybe 2 hours a week just for them, to help them with a set and so on. That's it. And made the first stream. Yeah, those 5 people came, talked a bit, ended the stream. That's good. And next day, I announced on Reddit that my win rate, what my win rate is, that was like 3 years ago, and that I'm infinite, that I don't have to pay to play the game, that I'm getting enough gems. And if they want to come, they can come. And there was a lot of people who came. more viewers than I have now.
Whoa, for real? When you were beginning?
The second day of the stream.
Okay.
And,
let's check this.
Most of
them
them came to tell me that I'm full of shit.
Oh, the haters, man.
There was like 400 people average or something like that.
400 people. And now, for context, you're getting like 200 views per day?
It's okay.
Live views.
Like a average, like
average,
what I have.
Average.
It really depends. I don't know what. It's like 200 is normal, and then it can go higher than that. It's I had kind of my sleeping schedule got a bit messed up in the last week. I drank a sleeping pill, and for some reason, I never drank a sleeping pill. I drank it once, I don't know, 7 years ago. But I drank it here, just let's go to sleep, and that's it. I fell asleep after 7 a.m. I don't remember the last time I went to sleep after 7 a.m. It's like it had an opposite effect. Maybe the problem was because I was so excited that I took the sleeping pill. I was so excited, like, oh my God, it's so cool. And then I just didn't. And then last week has been fucked up. Like in the morning, the first minute while I'm still in the bed, I'm a different person. Like a demon comes into me. It is, I'm going to think about if I didn't sleep my beauty sleep enough hours, I'm going to think about anything that can avoid waking up. But yesterday, my girlfriend told me 2 days ago, actually, that there's some good alarms that can help me with that. Like, because in the last week, I couldn't fucking get my sleeping schedule in order. I started the stream way too late, and that sucks.
So would you just sleep forever and able to wake up?
I slept normal, like 8 hours, but I always went to sleep too late, right? But it's like if I go to sleep at 5 or 7 a.m., it's 8 hours is
it fucks up your day for sure.
But I set up barcodes around my apartment, and before there's this application, and before the alarm shuts down, a very irritating alarm. Before it shuts down, I have to scan all the barcodes around the house.
Oh man, you need to be really wasted if you need to go this measure. It reminds me, I had some colleagues in university where their alarm was solving some math equation. Their brain is still half asleep, and we have to solve the math equation for it to shut down.
That was not be enough, because then I would be still in bed. I would solve it and I would sleep more.
But to get to that point, you need to be really desperate if you really need this kind of signals.
Man, this is the best thing, one of the best things that happened in my life, this alarm. I'm not even kidding. I'm so happy. I'm like ecstatic about it. It's the best thing, because I don't care. I know whatever that happens, I'm gonna wake up on time every single time. And when I do that, like that demonic me, it's done. It's gone because I'm no longer in bed. I had to walk around the house and scan the barcode, and it doesn't always scan them at the first try. It's fucking perfect.
I imagine you like half asleep through the house with your phone in your hand, like eyes half closed, looking at the walls, scanning the stuff. Then
yes.
Wake up, and now it's me again.
I mean, if I go to bed normally, I'm gonna wake up normally. But when I don't, like, it happens to everybody. You don't go to bed normally, and then you still wake up because you're a normal person. You sleep for less than you usually sleep, less than what you need, but you wake up and you do things that you need to do. Well, this makes me do that, so that's perfect. Anyways, that stream.
It was just asking, like, okay, so now when you got back to only streaming and only coaching.
Sorry,
yeah, it was a long way, no problem. Can you make a living out of this? Since you had 2 jobs and now you have 1 job, so your income was affected, maybe? Is it still enough to carry on.
Of course, it was affected. I lost income from one job. That's why I waited for so long. I worked 2 jobs for a long time, right? For a few years, I worked 2 jobs, and I got used to it. For me, it was normal way of living. It was just normal, and the reason why I didn't go to streaming right away is because I didn't want to be afraid of what's going to happen. Now I have a very consistent year and something behind me, and in the future, like even if when there are always bumps, so even when there are some bumps, it's no problem because I saved enough money, and the pay that I get from coaching and from streaming is enough. I wanted to see, like, I didn't want to go, oh, stream is kind of going well, and let's go. And then I'm like, oh, I need to get a good amount. I need to get this. I need to pay my bills. Now I know that I had enough, pay good enough in the last year and a half or whatever, maybe a bit less. I know it was enough, and I know that I can work from there. I know what to expect. I'm not like worrying. So yeah, it's definitely enough. That's the reason why I switched. But again, I didn't want to be like 1 month, one great month, and now I switch right away. I wanted to see if this is real, and it seems like it is.
Seems like it is. Do you, with your more or less in average 200 viewers, is it enough to have a living, even if you discount the coaching income that you get? So for people that maybe are considering to stream, would this be a good target for them, or is it still not enough to pay the bills, at least?
Well, without coaching?
Without coaching, just a stream alone.
I earn jack shit from streaming.
Okay, that was I was wondering.
It's very small.
Little. Okay, so they need.
I don't know where you got it. Maybe if you live, I don't know where, man. It's super small amount. Right. But there is also one thing. I don't know why. I don't worry about that. I have one of the lowest subscription numbers that I saw with the same amount of viewers as some other streamers. Like I have right now. Okay, I completely switched my streaming time, right? That's one thing that I did because I want to have a life now. And I'm streaming. I'm ending the stream somewhere where I usually started it before.
So more during the day and not. So you're streaming during the day and finishing. I'm
streaming during the morning and day for me, and before I stream during afternoon and night.
Right.
So that's the difference. But my subscribers now are like 114. So that's what I have right now, and that's some average that I had ever since I switched.
Nice.
Before it was like from 150 up to 300, but a lot of other streamers that I know. So maybe you're in, maybe my data is wrong, because a lot of them have a lot higher subscription numbers to the stream, right? So, and a lot more donations. I'm not sure what affects that, but
I think the schedule will make a big difference, since you would assume that most people who watch streams are people who also work, not only teenagers. So if people are also working, they have more free time in the evening and in the late afternoon.
A lot of people watch streams. A lot of people were. I have when I switched. Like, okay, last week was a bit weird. Like when I switched, it was like that morning. It was from 200 up to 400. That was the average viewer count. Now with like last 2 weeks, we had Eva and I. Eva and I had. I think I told like some really bad things happen in life. So I was a little bit inconsistent. So the viewership dropped a little bit. But my numbers were better, and I still had a lower subscription. I think it's going to take a little bit to new people that maybe are coming in the stream and so on to adjust. But I'm talking about before, when I was streaming in the afternoon, when I had less viewers, I had more subscribers, because that was consistent. I was consistently streaming at that hour for a long time, so people knew what to expect.
Also, now it's predictable, and probably
but
people
it's still
who subscribe
those numbers.
Okay.
But those numbers are nothing compared to the streamers that have the same viewership as I. A lot of them. Maybe some people have a lot lower numbers, but so maybe you can I know some people, I'm not going to mention them, some of my friends that are streaming, that have the same viewer numbers, but or lower or much lower viewer numbers, but a lot more subscribers, and they can make a living just out of that. I kind of rely on coaching and on some sponsorship deals. I don't have a lot of those to get enough money, mostly on coaching.
What I wanted to get is, how do you feel that is hard to start streaming? In terms of content creation, it's usually the 0.001% that make it. People like to watch the best. And you can argue that for yourself. You consistently reach the top ranking. You sometimes it's number one, even as you did recently in the Neo. And you go infinite, and not many people do. So what I was wanting to know is, do you think that this transition that you made to full-time content creator, to full-time coach, were you privileged in a way to make it, or do you encourage other people to try to find their passions and try to help others doing what they love?
It depends on, there are a few things, like it depends on what your selling point is. My selling point is always have the best results in the world. And that's how I kind of promote myself.
Which by definition is very narrow. Very, very few people can boast that.
Exactly. Very few people can do that. Now, there are a lot of people who stream that have some other selling points, that are maybe much better entertainers than I am. What they have maybe some knowledge about, a lot more about editing and things like that, so they can make their stream very special. Right. But one thing is 100% true: unless you're extremely lucky, or I don't know, some kind of a genius or whatever, and then you just start streaming and bam, you're a star or whatever. I think my stream is still small. I would like to grow at least double the size in the next few years. That would be cool.
Yeah,
but
I think you can.
That's kind of my goal. To get first step, like to get to 500 average. That's normal. But yeah. One thing for sure, unless you're like, as I said, very lucky, or some kind of I don't know, that's perfect for you or whatever. I don't know. Usually it's luck that you just start and you get a good start and you do it. It's you need to put a lot of work without expecting anything. Like the first year and a half, I was not getting any money, nothing. I was having almost a full-time job. Without anything. So that's a lot of time spent for literally no income. And you gotta prepare to do that. You gotta prepare to put in the time, to be consistent, and not expect anything. So you better find something you love doing, because you're probably not gonna be gaining anything. Because for example, okay, JustLolaman. My name is Luka Mandić. Who the fuck cares about Luka Mandić, like a Magic streamer? Like, who the fuck cares about him? Nobody. Nobody knows about him. I just started playing Magic competitively, 3-4 years ago. You gotta consistently be making a name for yourself. Like, and again, it doesn't have to be best results in the world. You can just be a great entertainer, and that can be enough.
And the competition, competition is brutal. Also, there's so many people doing the same thing already.
Yeah, there's a lot of people doing it, and it's most of them stop doing it at one point. So after a year or two, and because they're not prepared to spend time and not get any income from it. But remember when I told you there was like such a huge amount of people that came? Yes. Well, that's where I'm on the second day, where I just streamed for thought I'm going to stream for five people. That's when I was like, wait, maybe we can try this. The problem that I had then was I had such a horrible mic that every time I left or said something with maybe a little bit of air coming out, the microphone was exploding. It was hurtful to the ears. And people were like, what the fuck is this? They were like screaming in the chat, like, that guy, I can't keep my headphones on. And I didn't know that, because I was on Discord talking with that mic, and Discord has some drivers that make your sound much better. So it was good for my friends on Discord, but on stream, I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, I'm lucky that anybody stayed. And then for 1 week I was doing that. I didn't even think that I was gonna stream. I was just for 5 people, and I finally found a mic that was good because I had no idea what mics are good back then, and I found it. That was like what 3 and something years ago, and I bought it and announced it. My viewers dropped obviously because I know that if I heard a streamer like that, I would never. I would ban him from ever showing up in my recommendations.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, the competition is brutal, and the guys that stick with you, they really liked you to put up with the technical shit, which I understand. I feel the same when I listen to my recordings, when I listen to my video. I'm like, who the fuck? Like, I will not watch this shit. And you see all these good producers. Because you see the professional ones, and it's like super crystal clear image, super nice sound, and then you go to some scrub that is just doing this in his house.
There's always going to be difference, yeah. But no, this was horrible. This was like I was punishing people. That's how bad it was. It hurt the ears. It was not bad quality. It was I was messing with them. And after that week, when I bought a good mic, I announced it. I got a mic. Let's go. Now we can do it. And I started a stream. And this is how I sounded. Nothing. It was so low. There was no way. Almost nothing was coming through. Why? Because Windows 10 has problem with like 50% of the USB mics. So if you have USB mic with Windows 10, there is a good chance, even if it works for your friend, that it's not going to work for you because who knows? The Microsoft doesn't want to solve it, and they didn't solve it.
Can you not change it? It's permanent, so you have to change the mic completely.
I had to change the mic. So people came. Okay, again, I had a lot of viewers, more than I have now. But they came and they're like, man, what the fuck is this? I can't hear you. What the fuck was that announcement for? And it took me like 5 days to fix, to do shit in registry, which I'm afraid to do on my computer, to artificially make the sound louder. And then I started like a normal streamer. Even though I got very lucky, that could have been a huge jumping step. I started like a normal streamer because it took me like a month to fix that, or maybe a little bit less. And I started with 10 viewers. Then I gradually
I feel that the importance is really starting with something, doing something that you love, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Stick to it and be consistent and trust the process, and things will improve. So I hope that this podcast and this conversation also helps you achieve your goal of increasing your viewership, maybe doubling it next year. I appreciate a lot the time that you gave me. It was really awesome to talk to you. And I encourage people that are listening to follow you. Do you want to leave your Twitch and your Metify where people can get coaching from you?
Thanks. Where
can they reach you?
Coaching?
Where can they reach you for the stream or for coaching?
Yeah, just Twitch, JustLolaman. It's MetaFeed, JustLolaman for my coaching. Or just contact me anywhere if you're interested in coaching. I mean, for watching, you can come watch, say hello if you're coming from this stream, from the podcast. If you want to talk about coaching, we can just talk. You never have to take it. It can be just a conversation. So whatever. And thanks, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And good luck for the best of drafts, for the rest of the set, and just all of the best to you.
Thanks, and sorry for jumping from topic to topic when you ask me something.
No, it's problem. It's part of the fun. Well, bye everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.